Recording. Hey, everybody, this is a podcast for we, a podcast for us, as well as a podcast for you. I'm your host, K-Dog. That's my co-host there. Aber, we're here to talk about the finer things in life. We're going to talk about things such as Tenet. And maybe we can go past that, but I don't know. Right now, I'm stuck on Tenet. So I watched the movie Tenet twice.
I watched it once.
You watched it once? I thought you went to the theater.
I watched it in the theater. I haven't watched it since because I don't want to watch it again.
In theater.
The 4K disc.
I thought you were able to go more than once.
No, I just went once.
Geez, weird. I feel like we've had this conversation.
Deja vu, right? All over again.
Yeah. Well, because I'm inverted.
Well, spoilers, right? If you haven't seen.
Oh yeah, spoilers if you haven't seen it, but I really don't think it matters, honestly, because I don't think the movie lends itself to spoilers. Because even if you did explain it, it's just there's a few parts I would say, but even then you could kind of see it coming, right?
Kind of, yeah.
Well, I mean, like if you explained the heist, that'd be stupid, and it wouldn't be much of a spoiler because you prefer to see it. That's like breaking down a fight scene. It Man fights this guy. You know what I mean? Other than there's only like a few spoilers where I'm like, oh, I kind of saw it coming.
So Nolan really did buy a plane and crash it into a building to do that scene.
Wait, that wasn't real?
No, that was real.
Oh, okay, yeah. I thought all that shit was real.
He bought a real 747, which is interesting because that's a palindrome too.
I see. Yeah, he just fucking went.
He went all out on that.
Dude, yeah, he just like wrote on his wall like words like I don't know, Bob. You know, like it's Bob backwards. All right, wait. I want to go through the review process here. We got rewatchable, watch, sound, score, I should say. Score. This is ×2 right here. Score, rewatch, story, I guess, plot, story/plot. What else do we have? We got story, rewatch, sound,
special effects, music.
That's all part of the same thing. Score. We'll go with score and sound.
Score. Yeah, you already got it.
Yeah. No, what else is there? So rewatch, enjoyment factor.
I thought that was rewatch or engagement.
Engagement.
Like that, like as you're actively watching it, because there's movies that are highly engaging, you just never go back to them.
That's true. So, all right, we only had 4 metrics.
I thought we had more
characters, but when they go into story, let me see here. I've written this down before. Somehow I did math a bunch of times. You know, transgender. I noticed I talked about transgender people quite a bit. Movies. Tenet. Oh, I had you rate Tenet. All right, so rewatch, score, story, enjoyment, engagement. Yeah, I guess it's because rewatchability is twice.
Okay.
So that's why it seems like there's 5. It's really 4, but it's actually 5. All right, we'll get to that in a second. Let's run down not the story, but the movie in general. If you haven't seen it, it's basically, as I understand it, it's a movie about a guy who gets mixed up in the world of the secret world of Tenet, which is like people from the future are just trying to destroy the past. And there's gimmicks called inversion, you know, and entropy. My bad. And wow, it's really hard to break it down simplistically, isn't it? But it is a simple story.
It's like, what is it about? Well, I think you nailed it. It's somebody who kind of gets just sucked into this whole, you know, behind the scenes, you know, shadow war that's going on between the present and the future.
Yeah, and the weird thing about that is, though, what's the name of the main character? Do you know?
Oh, it's the protagonist.
Yeah, he has no name.
He says it, and then I turned to my girlfriend. I was like, his name is going to be protagonist
because he will never say his name.
Because we'll never know his name.
What do you think about that? They made it so that the main character was almost a blank slate. You know what I mean? Like, I guess like what
you have no background of him. You don't know anything about what his...
Oh, you know he doesn't know money. Because Yeah, well, they mentioned it twice. The rich guy was like, well, Michael Caine's character was like, "Hey, look, yeah, if you want to play the part of a billionaire, you got to dress like one." And then the lady goes, "You don't know how to. You look the part, but you don't act the part." And I was like, "Okay, cool. Is that like because he's black? He doesn't know how to be rich?"
That might be the thing that's holding him back.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, but what did you think about that? The character himself, he wasn't really like a character. He was just there.
He's. I think it's either genius or it's stupid. It's the kind of character you could pour yourself into.
That's what I was thinking. That's what they were. I thought that's what they were trying to do.
It makes it easier to identify with him if you don't restrict what his identifiables are too much.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you outline them very clearly, then you tend to exclude a lot of people on that side. But if you keep it blurred, people on the outside might think, hey, you know what? I can see part of myself in this character. Or that might not even been important to the story, really.
But it is.
I honestly, okay, David Washington.
I love that guy.
I wasn't feeling him in the movie.
Okay, no, okay.
I think he was good enough. Mm-hmm. But my problem is Robert Pattinson next to that dude just blew his fucking doors off. Man.
But they gave him more to do. They even have like an arc with that guy, and they just gave him more.
I feel like it's more Robert Pattinson in the movie.
It is. He's the protagonist. Huh?
He's the one that I felt things through after I watched the movie.
Yes.
After I watched the movie, and then I read this theory about him. I was just like, dude, that makes it way more. Because when he first meets him, he's blitzed, right? He's drunk as fuck. Probably because he just traveled back by himself for like 10 years or 15 years or something.
Yeah.
To see his mentor, his godfather, his father figure. And here he is, he's been waiting for this day. He's just like, fuck, okay, this is also going to be the last few days that I get to hang out with him.
What makes you think he was drunk? Because when he sees him, he's not drunk.
He's in a haze, dude. He's like either stressed or something. He doesn't look clean. After that, he looks clean. But
yeah.
He's just like all like, maybe he's not drunk. Maybe he's, I don't know.
No, but like, it's funny. All right. So yeah, about inversion. So the whole movie, it's gimmick because that's what it felt like. It was not how pretentious this fucking movie is. You're not calling it time travel. You're calling it inversion, but it's time travel.
It is and it isn't.
It is and it is because you have a guy from the future going back in time 10 years.
Yes, but it's the way that they have to travel.
I know. It's slow time travel.
Yeah, they're not wormholing.
Yeah. It's still time travel.
It is time travel, but
it is. It's pretentious.
But you give it another name. You give it another name so that you understand it's a different concept of time travel. The usual concept of time travel is you're jumping around to different points in time, but you're not really experiencing the journey through time, except a wormhole or something.
Okay, no. Endgame, time travel. Back to the Future, time travel. Yeah. Terminator, time travel. You don't have to name it something different. It's time travel.
I agree.
He's traveling through time.
There's no. You're right. There are some things that he did in this one. I don't know to make himself different or anything, but inversion, I think that shows more the idea of things moving backwards.
Oh, I agree.
Things moving backwards through time, and so that affecting the physics of you and your interaction with things that are moving backwards through time towards a different state of entropy.
The whole concept is so like, I wouldn't give it complicated. It's cool.
It's cool. I want to say this is more real than conventional time travel, only because it's asking, like what would it actually be like to be traveling through time? Because if I wanted to travel, okay, Avengers, they want to travel through time. They could travel through time to a specific place, to a specific time, and there's no mix up. There's no popping in. This one, you're actually traveling backwards through time with the rotation of the Earth and its movement of the cosmos. So, I mean, because really time travel, if you go back 6 months, you should pop up in the middle of outer space, right? Because
all right, that being said, I mean, like, there's so many little things. Okay, attacking the minutia of other movies that had time travel isn't what we should do because
but again, this presents a different set of challenges.
it does. But it creates more problems that are unnecessary that you just have to kind of skip over. And in fact, it's so clever though to make an inversion. You have to like look up videos to see what the fuck is happening and how, and like inadvertently, once you find out, you're like, oh shit, well, all this shit's wrong. But then again, you get lost in the weeds if you start shooting holes in this time travel versus other movies. I just have to say it's a little bit. It's pretentious. You know, you instead of calling it time travel, you called it inversion. It is time travel. You just did it different and called it something else.
Yeah, they should have had David Washington call it time travel and then them say, this is kind of like time travel, you know, in a way, but really
it is. Yeah.
You're moving backwards through time.
It is. And it's funny. It's because you're reversing the flow for you, not anyone else, you. And like, I was like, this is
how you move through time, but you're also reversing how objects move through time. So, you know, if you pull it, all of a sudden it's moving backwards through time in itself, which is, yeah, that's
mind fucking blowing in the sense of not because it's such an epic idea, because it's such a, it's a stupid, I don't want to call it stupid. I really don't, but it's just so much to that. So, okay. There's a part in the movie where the chick is, she's basically doing this. She's the and what's that guy's name? The Third Rock from the Sun guy. That fucking good actor. What's his name? God damn it. In Inception. What was that fucking guy's name? The guy in Inception. Well, basically, she's giving exposition on this fucking inversion thing, right? She goes, you gotta feel it. You don't have to try to understand it. And I was like, okay, I get it. You're telling me, the audience, just to feel it. Got it. All right. I'll go with you there. Then she does this thing with the bullet and she's okay. At first she goes, it's like you're catching it. And I'm like, okay, I'm with you. I'm fucking with you on this. Then she starts spinning the bullet. And that part, I was like, this is fucking stupid because I was like, okay, so the concept is you've already flipped the bullet and therefore you would catch it. So if I drop a bullet,
they didn't need that scene.
They did it. It
comes back.
No, it kind of does in a way, but it overcomplicates this complicated idea. So if I had dropped the bullet, if I thought to myself I dropped the bullet and I caught it, and the reason I caught it is because I in the future dropped it.
You need to invert yourself to go and drop the bullet.
Yeah. So, but he didn't do anything. He just catches it. But from the point of view, he just, and I was like, okay, cool. I got you. Then she flickers the bullet and it goes, and then she catches it. And I was just like, well, okay. Now, how does that fucking work? Because what the fuck? I go like this and imagine where my glasses go, and then they come back onto me. So if I go like this, I gotta flip them off right there.
Yeah. I don't think they needed that.
I agree.
I can't remember any scenes where that comes back, that those physics come back.
No, they do that. So it's kind of like 1,000,001 ways you die, but only one you live. They do that so that they can explain away all this other shit that's happening. Like when his car's moving backwards and then it flips over and like it turns out he was inverted the whole time. Or when he's fighting his inverted self. Okay, so there's a part where, not Denzel.
That's different though, because he really does do that eventually.
He
never
does.
Drops the bullet.
Yeah.
He never goes back and shoots at that rock thing.
Yeah, but there's a scene. Okay. So there's a scene, right, where they, at that part where the car flips over, right? And when we're seeing it the second time, the inverted version, right, his car flips over, and then the bad guy, who's terrible, by the way, he sets him on fire and it goes cold. I get it, right? But that scene never takes place on the flip side, on the front side. So when you see the car flip over and go like this, I'm like, well, where's the fucking scene of the other guy setting him on fire? Because that technically should have happened when you're seeing the car going backwards.
I gotta watch the movie probably.
Yeah, well, no, when you watch it and you're looking for it, it's not happening. Because I watch it twice in succession almost. Because I watch it a Friday, and then I watch it again on today, Monday, or yesterday, whatever. Like, I'm just saying, like, if it's just stupid. Okay, so when they're fighting, right? They're fighting. He's fighting his inverted self, and the fight looked weird. It just did, but because he's inverted, apparently. So he had already done this move to stop this move. So like basically there would be feints, like punches that didn't happen, and they're moving. And I was just like,
Well,
okay,
here's the problem. So it seems like you're thinking of the movie as if it already happened, or sorry, as if it's the first time it's happened.
it isn't.
The events in the movie have already happened. The
Yeah.
future have already happened. All the inverted things already happened to get to this point.
No, I know. He's fighting his inverted self. So the future version is fighting, but when you first watch the fight, the future version is moving all trippy, right? Because he's inverted. But then when they go back to it, it's still the trippy version of it. You know what I mean?
Yes and no.
It should be different. It should be
now the inverted fighter is moving normal, and the regular one is moving trippy.
I know. But it doesn't work that way. They both look stupid. It doesn't make sense because the lady flips the bullet, right? And then she's catching it, right? That means like she had to have known, or in the future version of herself, I guess.
Again, I think we've established that scene makes no sense.
It doesn't.
That scene makes no sense.
But when they're fighting inverted, it doesn't make sense because he'll go to kick his leg, but before his leg kicks, the other guy's leg flies. And I know they did that not because it was an accident, it's because they're fucking mind fucking themselves making this inverted fight scene. And they do it on the both ends. One guy on the front end, he's like, da, 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 and there's moves where his arm goes like this and then it flies back. And you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Because of the lady with the bullet spinning, this is inverted. He must have known to block the move. And then, okay, and so you go back, when you see the fight again, it's the reverse of that. And other guys fucking all over the place. And I was just like, this is just confusing because like it should have been. I don't even know if that should have been even a fluid fight to begin with because they're both moving. He knows what he's gonna do. I don't know. I don't know what to say. I just thought that was stupid.
The other problem is it's him fighting himself.
It is.
So you tend to fight the same, right?
Yeah.
He's gonna have the same tendencies.
Well, actually, I would say the front end. Oh fuck, the front end. He's fighting in his own natural element. So he should technically have the upper hand because the other guy is fighting an inversion and he hasn't been doing inversion forever. This is all kind of new to him. So when he's fighting him, he's fighting with the wind, like gravity moving backwards for him and shit. And it's just confusing. So his fighting should be way worse. In fact, the first go of it, he should beating the shit out of him, because like when you're like a martial artist and you're like at that level, and then you're fighting at a disadvantage, you're going to take advantage and then fucking completely wipe the floor of him. But that's not what happened. I mean, he did overtake him though in the end of it, but it's weird because
then Neil pulled him off.
Yeah.
I would have to watch it again to scrutinize it.
It's not even, it's too confusing. I watched it twice and I'm like, I don't understand what's happening here. It's so, I get what they're doing, but I think they really confused themselves. Let's talk about Neil.
Yeah. After kind of thinking about the possibility of who he really is, that brought it home to me because it becomes a story about a guy who gets a chance to to help his mentor in his goals, to play his part in the overall story, which is to save the future.
Because he's doing the whole movie is a pincer attack. The entire movie. In the beginning, they explain this, and that's confusing onto itself. The pincer attack. I mean, here you got the ability to time travel, right? And you need to know shit in real time, but no, not really, because you could just record everything and invert and go back and then just because you know what everything's, you could just fucking change everything. And so, okay, you say, well, there's that line Neil says. He says, well, whatever happened, happened. Oh, okay. If whatever happened, happened, then the pincer attack would never work. So, like, in two instances, they fuck up their own little logic. But whatever. I don't know. I mean, like, fuck. Okay, so inversion, right? You're like, oh, who's this guy? Let's go back in time, find out who this guy is, and kill him. There, no problem. Problem solved. I mean, fuck, there's so many other ways. Like, you could be, because he's talking to the future, right? Hey, man, there's this one black guy. He's fucking my plans up. I'm so close. Future people will be like, go back in time and kill him. I'm like, fucking shit. Are you kidding me? Like, this is stupid. I was just like, there's so many little things. That's why time travel's dumb.
So it was something to do with the machine.
The inversion machine.
No, not the inversion machine. It was the
main machine. The main. Yeah, the MacGuffin of it can destroy time. That was a dumb fucking plot too. So okay, here's the main plot of that. Some chick in the future discovers a way to invert time, encodes this information into physical objects, and then when you assemble the fucking thing, the future people can get it and then destroy time. I was like, what? I watched it twice, and I'm telling you that's stupid. Okay, and then she kills herself just so no one can find out the secrets.
I think she inverted it and sent it back because she had lost.
Yeah, and she killed herself. But she didn't have to do that at all. She could have just killed herself.
No, I think what she wanted to do was send the weapon back so that somebody else could put it together and end up destroying time in the past. It's almost like the Terminator.
No. The lady was the hero. The lady who invents the MacGuffin, that's what I'm calling it, is the hero because she makes it so that she wanted it to be separated and keep going back in time, inversion, so that the main bad guys don't get a hold of it. Because she's like Oppenheimer, I have become death, and so she kills herself. And I was like, why did you make it to begin with? I mean, like, okay, so you invented this fucking thing. Got it. Kill yourself. Now but you're going to put the information on how to do it, go back in time, and then kill yourself. And I'm like, why didn't you just kill yourself? Then no one would know.
If it's already made, it's made. I gotta watch it.
She didn't make it. No. She kills her. Okay, she encodes how to fucking. It's in the fucking thing. The first time I had this thought, and I was looking a second time when I watched it. I was looking for a reason why this unnamed person, our protagonist times 2, creates this fucking thing, sends it back in time. And they even say it. She sends it back in time because her hope was it keeps going back, like inverted, and then she kills herself to make sure that no one can get it. And I was like, well, that doesn't make sense because she could have just killed herself and rather than just making it. But okay. So she makes this thing and sends it back in time.
Well, she sent it backwards through time so that it doesn't exist forward in time.
But don't make it at all.
Made. But it's already made. It's like you already invented a nuke. What's the only way to get rid of nuclear, a nuclear bomb technology for it? It's going to exist forever in the future. So I think the idea here is to send it somewhere where people maybe wouldn't look for it.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. I guess that's the thing. Maybe she had already made the device, but it doesn't get written that way. It gets written, she makes this device and she sends it back in time and then kills herself. And so that no one could ever, she can't make it again. That makes sense, right? Because she's dead. And then, I would have inverted her dead body. I mean, like, fuck. I mean, shit. I mean, like, fuck, that's what you would do, right? I don't know. I mean, like, there's so many little things about inversion that was just silly. Like, all right, I mean, just fuck, you just go back in time. And okay, so Neil, let's talk about Neil. So Neil, whoever he is, he what the fuck age is he then? If he's the kid, then what age is he? Because, okay, so he goes future, right? So he has to grow up as a man, learn the best shit ever from his fucking mentor, and then go back that amount of time to get to that time, so he should be pretty fucking old.
And then when he's going backwards through time, does he de-age or does he keep aging?
I know. I think the way they explain inversion is you're inverting, you're moving through time backwards, but you yourself.
You're okay.
Yeah, I guess. I fucking guess, dude. You just go with it.
That's the only way it would make sense, because if he went backwards through time,
he'd be a kid.
Be a kid again.
Yeah, it'd be pointless, right? And you know what? There's nothing to say that he's the kid, though. You know what I mean? Like, I saw a lot of not reviews. I watched a lot of film theories, but there's nothing placing him as the kid. It just isn't. There's nothing there other than he speaks Estonian.
There's that. Before the movie came out, they said that Robert Pattinson's character was going to exist in different forms within the same movie.
I guess. I mean, you could make an argument saying that he's inverted and not inverted. I mean, you could say
that. I think it's a kid. I think that
no, I know. I'm pretty confident that the spirit of what that is there. They just didn't write to that spirit, because there's nothing linking the kid to the fucking guy. There just isn't. I mean, like, all you had to do was, like, maybe even if the kid had that necklace thing, the thing that's inside the dude's bag to signify, oh yeah, he took a bullet for me, or some kind of a relationship between the main. And that's another thing I didn't like about the writing, is they didn't give Isaiah, or is it Isaiah Washington, or
I thought it was David Washington.
David Washington. They didn't give David Washington anything to do, really. I mean, he said some badass pimp lines. I'm not gonna lie. That's what I liked. The first half of the movie I really liked because of him, because he would say shit. He was like such a badass, But they didn't really give him much to do. Like, even with the chick, you would think that to give him to do something with this chick, instead of watching him work out or training montages, they could have created writing for him and her to make it more like a connection. Like, maybe he gets with her and then raises the kid or something. They didn't do any of that. Like, him and the kid. Like, if he would have did something with the kid said something.
We don't know what happens after the movie.
Yeah, you want to make a movie as a one-off, because you watch Interstellar, you pretty much get it, right? You can mind canon anything, but there's not really much. I mean, you get it. You got there. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, he wrote it so open-handed that you could stick anything in there. He could be some best. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I thought it was lazy writing from a guy who made, like, Memento and Interstellar and fucking Inception. A lot of these movies were pretty good and hooked on the main character, in an emotional way. And that's really why you come back to movies, other than just the spectacle of a thing. You're really coming back because it creates that emotional attachment. There's nothing.
I never got attached to the protagonist character. It was Neil that I was paying attention to.
I know, because there was nothing there for him. And I'm not saying that that's a knock on him. They didn't give him anything. What did he do? Like, honestly, what did he do other than fight and then come up with heist plans? Okay, here's another thing. What a heist movie this was. They had 4 fucking heists or some shit like that. Like, they're trying to go into the opera, heist this dude. They're trying to come up with a plan to fucking crash a plane. That was pretty cool. But I mean, like, when you take a step back, you're like, what the fuck are they doing any of this? And then they're heisting the plutonium-241. And then they're like heisting this fucking place in some random spot. And another thing is they're bouncing around the world. And I know they are, because I looked at the production design, and there's no way to actually tell that. Like, as you're watching it, they're really in one country, but they're not.
We didn't have any establishing shots.
No. And that's because of what the editor wasn't. He didn't have his editor with him.
He didn't. I don't know about the editor, but I know
the editor was in 1912, doing 1917 at the time. So he had some chick do it. And she did some okay movies, not that good. It's like the B team came in. I have to say, Robert Pattinson did shine, but was that more of him shining because everyone else didn't have anything? Even the main bad guy is garbage. Like he's so base. Like he's like, I just want everything for me.
And I don't know why I was getting the sense that he was always like that. And it took me a while to catch on that no, it was only after that boat scene that he gets all fucking vicious on his girl. And that before then that they were pretty good. I thought it was something that had been going on for a long time. I didn't realize, until afterwards I was like, wait a minute. He had only just like maybe a few days before flipped out on this girl.
Well, actually, if you watch the movie, they actually hint at other times he was shitty because she was best friends with this one guy, and they got close, but they didn't really fuck, and he ended up fucking that dude up to where he can't talk or walk. And on the boat, there's some kind of attachment between him. I don't know, something on the boat and that picture, and because that's when it all fell apart. You're right, is that. But something about that picture, and I think that goes before the boat. Because at that time, she even says it, she was trying to get out of the relationship with him, and she felt if she would just be nice to him and love him, to remember some forgotten time that she said, that he would then be okay with her leaving. And then he sprung the question on her, yeah, if you leave the kid with me, then you can go, And that's, yeah. But like, he was always an asshole and manipulative. Through her story, she explains it. So he was always garbage.
I guess hers was good too. It was about control.
Yeah.
Being able to control her own life and taking back control from him.
You mean her story arc?
Yeah.
It plays off of him, which is terrible. So for me, it doesn't work. You can't have like a hero and a shitty villain and it makes the hero good. It just doesn't. It's trite. It's pointless. He's terrible and there's no real reason other than he's just shitty. And his motivation is he's shitty. You know what I mean? Like, you want the villain to be someone you can kind of understand. I understand that he's shitty, but there's nothing to it. It's not like, oh yeah, I get it. I get why he's doing it. He's a shitty guy. And if you get why he's like that in the sense like, yeah, I could totally see myself being there. Well, you're garbage. But I mean, like when you're watching a movie, really, you want to be like, oh, I can see why the villain's like this. If I went through these steps, I probably. This guy is nothing like that. He's just garbage, and he's just garbage. He just is. I don't know why he created a character like that. And I'm thinking of all the other movies, there weren't villains like that. In fact, he's really good at writing stories. Like if you watch The Prestige, you have two villains, but you really don't understand who's a villain and who's the good guy. It's just a story. And same thing with the Interstellar. You don't really know who the bad guy is. Is there a bad guy? There's actually a bad guy they introduced at the end, and it makes sense. I mean, like within that like short amount of time. I mean, like in all his movies, there's villains, there's heroes, and there's characters or something. This movie was a wash because like he created some generic guy who did say some cool shit. Like he really did say some cool Bond like shit. Like he would say, like, I'll have what he's having, and he goes, I'll get the waiter, and he goes, no, you'll tell the waiter. And I thought that was pretty tight. When he's with Michael Caine, and then he goes, hey, box all this shit up. Like I thought that was cool. And then this other shit he would say, but other than that, there was nothing redeemable about this character at all. He was just fucking there.
Yeah, like I said,
like you can't remember.
Yeah, I don't know. He didn't leave an impression on me. Really.
Like in all of Christopher Nolan's movies, I wanted to watch immediately after. And like I have fond memories, but except for Dunkirk in this movie, and I'm noticing a trend. I see him. Maybe I don't think he can't be drunk off his own Kool-Aid, but like at the same time, it feels like he's surrounded by yes men. Because like how would they let him go with that? Because you're talking about the guy who made fucking Interstellar, and that Interstellar isn't a movie that existed at the time. You know what I mean? Like that was like it was a movie. And nothing really copies it, like nothing is like that, and he made Inception. What the fuck was this? That's a movie and it has like things that are just different. He made Memento, which is kind of like inversion, but this movie is just garbage. It's there. I watched it twice. I wouldn't
call it garbage, but it misses some of those things that you have in the other movies, like character motivations and development. And
If you didn't have, if Christopher Nolan wasn't attached to this movie, you would have thought to yourself, this guy is trying to copy Christopher Nolan and failed. That's what you would think.
yeah, the end battle was not very Nolan
Mm-mm.
like. It felt gratuitous. It
It
felt
was.
like it didn't need to be there.
It did it.
And it was just like an opportunity to show like an inverted war scene, like an inverted Call of Duty, because the guy in the building and then the building like inverting itself back onto him.
Yeah. I thought that was dumb. I thought the whole, like, I got bored once they started training on the boats and doing montages on how to fucking fight inverted or whatever. I was just like, this movie's boring. Like, it is boring. And like they get to the main battle scene, they're all fucking fighting. I was like, he if it was more personable, like he fought an inverted version of the main guy, like that would have been like, you could have hit the key concepts of what you're trying to get and create an emotional like battle of some sort. If you want to have a gratuitous battle, you could have had an inverted battle between the main guy and the bad guy or some shit like that. And you could even have Robert Pattinson die at the fucking end if you really wanted that sacrifice to go down. But other than that, I can't get past the idea of, so you failed. Okay. You couldn't get past that gate. I would immediately leave, go into an inversion thing, and go back a month and take that cage apart or something, right? And then that wouldn't have happened. I don't know. You got time travel, but no, we're gonna go with I need to take a bullet in my fucking head. I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. I gotta watch it again, dude. I enjoyed it. I really liked it. I feel like I need to watch it again.
I watched it the first time, and I enjoyed it up to the part where
killed it for me.
What?
The battle scene killed it.
Well, now I started to notice. I was like, I was on the Nolan train. I was like, yeah, this is fucking great. It's a great movie. And then I'm watching it, and I'm like, then it starts like there's little fires and embers of like, is this really good or is this I'm fooling myself? And then it got to a part where they're training, and I'm like, why is this a scene? Why? Who cares? Like, this better go somewhere. It's not. And then they're on the boat, and they go backwards boat, and they get to the fucking island, and I'm like, what's happening here? And then there's a group of people fighting. I'm like, get the fuck out. This is happening. And then they fought, and then it goes into like 2-on-2, and that was dumb, dude. I really hated this movie. Like, and so after I finished the movie, I was like, all right, I'll watch it again. Like, unlike Dunkirk, I walked out of Dunkirk, I'm like, that was garbage. It was pretentious. I get why you like it, but I mean, like, other than that, there's no reason for anyone to like this movie unless you're like a history buff or you like watching planes. There's nothing there. I was like, name one character in that movie. Nobody knows a name. And that fucking, you couldn't resonate with the character. There was no personable stories. Even with like the small time they had on that boat, you would think there would be a story. But it's unrememberable, And I was like, nobody likes this fucking movie. And people are like, oh, I fucking love it. I'm like, there's something happening here. I can't put my finger on it, but there's something happening here. And then the second movie comes out. This movie comes out, and I'm like, oh, this is good. It's good shit. Yeah. It's like it feels like weird. Even the music sounds kind of like Hans Zimmer, but it isn't. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And then I get to that part where they're training on the boat, and I'm like, what the fuck is happening right now? Why are they on this fucking boat? Oh, because they're gonna go raid some city? What? What? It was dumb. It was a dumb movie. And then I watched it the second time, and I was like, okay, I know what's going on. Virgin, let's fucking do this. All right, let's watch it. And I'm like, I like this scene. There's not much character development here. All right. The fucking scene happens again, and I'm bored out of my fucking mind when they're fighting. And at that point, I didn't give a shit that he's like, oh, you knew this whole time? And he's all tearing up and shit. That was like the most acting I saw of this guy. But they wrote that for him.
Yeah, I mean that was the only time that I saw a lot of emotion coming out of him. That was the only time that I saw a connection between him and Neil.
Yeah.
Um, though I think the connection was there with Neil towards him the whole time. It just didn't make sense
Yeah.
until you think about, the possibility of Neil being the kid.
I think they gave him too much money. If he had less money, it would have been a better movie and more personable. Because you could have got a lot of the concepts down and a lot of interpersonal themes with less money. You're spending too much time having these grandiose heists. Like he had okay, fuck, you have to crash a plane to go into this to figure out inversion. Okay, that's a thing. Then you have to I don't know, crash some trucks into a fucking other truck to steal some fucking thing and then have some kind of weird car chase. All right, cool.
Yeah, I forgot about that scene. Yeah,
and then you have to have we have to go to a fucking island and we have to do shit there. I was like, wait, again, we're doing more planning and shit. They're walking around and deciding what to do, and I thought that was cool. But the second time and the third time, I was like, what the fuck is happening? Why are they planning? So what the fuck? Call this movie Plan.
Yeah, that actually was weird. I was like, I don't know about this one.
Yeah, they had in the plan looked dumb too. It was like one truck and then trucks come and they just box it in and then break inside and steal it. I was like, it's like he doesn't even give a shit anymore. I got the plane one. That seemed kind of, I guess, that seemed different, right? They crash the plane and then the halide comes out, and I was like, oh, cool. All right. It makes sense. But fucking let's crash trucks into each other. And I didn't understand the fucking, I lied to him. Like when he, what the fuck? The pincer attack, that was stupid. Just we have to relay the information in real time. And that's why we were able to always know shit. But then Neil's like, hey, whatever happened, happened. And I'm like, what the fuck is the point of the pincer attack? And even the concept of the pincer attack is stupid. So you got the people going backwards in time, talking to you through, I guess, a walkie-talkie and some kind of a system where it reverses whatever the fuck you say. And now you know what's going on in real time. I guess, man. I'm like,
I gotta watch it again, dude. I can't poke as many holes in it, but it sounds like you already poked enough holes in it.
Well, it's not like I was trying. I was just like, but why? But fucking why? Why would you do? Why didn't you focus on a fucking movie? I get it. You wanted a cool little trendy way of time travel without calling it time travel. You pretentious fuck. But
it have been as big a part of the movie as they made it. Right? Like I'm okay with them moving backwards through time. I'm okay with this idea of time travel being used differently.
Okay.
But then when they try to make it a gimmick, like where he picks up the bullet with his mind, I was like, that's not necessary.
Yeah.
You already have this other tool that you have where you're trying to describe a battle against the future, right? And a sacrifice of somebody moving backwards and forwards through time for you, Terminator, to save you and protect this loop that's happening, unfortunately. Right?
Yeah.
Because David Washington, or the protagonist character, he's already done all this shit in the future. He created Tenet and all that stuff. We're not gonna get to see how he does that. The how might have already gotten lost in the loop.
Shit, the main bad guy could be part of Tenet in the sense that they go back in time, explain the ABCs of this shit. This is what you gotta do to save the fucking world. And then he can say, yeah, I mean, you can mind fuck any way, which way you want. You know why people think this is a sequel to Inception? Is because it is Inception in the sense that it came up with the gimmick and added parts to it.
Well, the thing about Inception, I feel like that was a lot more relatable. I mean, he picked a bunch of different cool things, like the kick,
yeah,
falling asleep and shit like that. The idea how time moves out slower in a dream, all that stuff was something you could identify with, and it was a way of tricking you into buying into the physics of the movie that he was presenting you with, right?
Yeah, it was new.
and it was new. It was something you already were familiar with or could agree with.
Kinda. Yeah.
Who's never had dreams?
Yeah. Exactly.
Come on.
Yeah.
It's something that everybody had already experienced, but never thought about, in this way.
Yeah.
But it was also used as a tool for, hey, when do we create a lie for ourselves that drives our being?
Yeah, I thought that's cool. Yeah.
It doesn't have to be a dream within a dream, but when do we create a lie that drives all of our decisions and our lives in a way that we don't even think about after a while? You know, that was a great way to do it. And then any of the big epic scenes that were in there were really just to kind of show the power of the mind, the ability to create worlds and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was to impress you, but it wasn't the thing. That wasn't the thing. The thing was the characters. It was Cobb willing to do anything to get back to his kids and prove it, maybe not even prove his innocence. He wasn't even trying to prove his innocence.
I agree. Well, because he already knew.
He knew, but he wasn't trying to prove his innocence to the law or find evidence that he hadn't killed his wife. He was just like, hey man, if I could just pay somebody to make this shit go away. Usually in a movie, it's like, I'm trying to find the guy that actually killed my soul. No, in this one, she killed herself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Spoiler.
Spoiler.
Yeah.
There's no way, for him to prove his innocence. So it's a total, it's a change. It was, even that was new. And in the end, the idea of shit, even if this is a lie, do you accept it? And it's kind of something that they played with in the original Watchmen, in the graphic novel. If you have peace, but at the expense of this huge lie, is it worth it?
And that's cool. Like cool.
Those are all cool, social things, thinking about our world and how we think about it. Not just the world, but even then our own personal little slice of it. Tenet it's a lot harder to try and pull those themes out of it.
No, it isn't. They just didn't do it. They didn't have any question. Like when I walked away from this movie, I didn't have any questions about the characters. I didn't care. There was nothing there to care about. There was no main themes. I'm not thinking about, would I sacrifice this or that? I got one guy who's doing a sacrifice thing on a relationship they haven't built in the movie. They built the relationship like if you mind canon this shit. But other than that, they really didn't build it's cool little interactions between the two, but they didn't build the relationship.
I feel like it's like I want to say I could turn my brain off on this movie, but you really can't because you have to pay attention.
Oh yeah, dude. If you look away for a second, some main shit happens.
And not only that, but dude, I'm hearing booms, but they're changing direction.
That's aliens.
It sounds like fireworks, but it was over here and now it's over here.
Could be sonic booms. You're near the airbase.
Over and over again?
Yeah, the new technology.
Honestly, they sound like gunshots.
Fucking finally, Civil War. Yeah. Don't die. Just if people kill you, stay alive. It's loud.
And then you can hear the echoes too, because we have mountains on both sides.
I heard that shit. What's going on over there? Is it like fireworks?
Fireworks would make sense at 7 o'clock.
Oh yeah. I don't know what time is over there. El Cajon. Boom.
Well, it started right at 7, so maybe it's a fireworks show on a Tuesday.
What's 12 1 20? That's why you should have Twitter, because you get news real quick. Breaking news: you're dead. Happening now.
It is fireworks. God damn it! Starting at 7 p.m.
Why?
Birthday on December 1st.
For who?
For the city of Santee.
Why? That's like the first time they've ever been a city.
I wonder where they're doing them from.
So let's talk about this fucking movie. Okay, so what'd you think of the music? Pretty good? Was it good? Uh-oh, I lost you. Shit. Well, Eber just died, everybody. And I'm going to have to stop the video. Or he stopped, or I don't know what happened. Let's see if I can get it. Oh, let's stop my own video. That's not good. Let's see. Let's close him out. See if I can try to find him in some way. Oh, shit. What the fuck? And we're recording. And
you asked me what I thought about the music,
yeah,
and I said that I liked it. That the music, especially at the beginning, it got me pretty pumped up for the beginning of the movie. I was like, my heart was like beating. Like it just seemed like a really good setup, and it reminded me of the beginning of Batman Dark Knight.
it did feel like that. Like it felt like some shit was happening. The music was good. I didn't know what was happening, and even then, when it was happening, I was like, "Huh?" Like I didn't know. Like, oh, are they on the same team? And like on the second viewing, I was like, I guess he was CIA agent. With
Yeah, we never fully understand the factions.
No.
Or at least I never fully got them.
Well, from his point of view in the beginning of the movie, the reason any of that shit's going on is they're gonna kill that guy, and that's why they're there. But he's there to take him out, right? To save him, to save that one guy. But it turns out that I have no idea what it turns out. And then Robert Pattinson's there, and he's the one who introduces his version. Like, why are you even there? But I guess he was there to help. So I don't know.
I'm gonna have to watch it again. It was a fun ride. I remember enjoying it. It could have also been that it was the first time back in a movie theater since December.
Yeah, your dopamine levels were up. You're like, yeah. Then it's kind of like, I don't know, why you eat popcorn while watching a movie, you know? It like enhances the movie. So you had that whole level of euphoria, you know, watching a movie, you know, being free for the first time in a while.
I feel bad that Wonder Woman's going to come out on HBO.
Yeah.
You know, it looks like Black Widow is going to come out on Disney Plus.
Yeah, definitely. It sucks that those movies are doing that, but it's the times that we're in. When they get that vaccine, it's going to be like 95, 100%. Shit.
Yeah, I mean,
Fireworks. Brought to you by Podcastforwe, where you can hear kind of fireworks, but not all the way. There's the my engagement. I was engaged when I first watched the movie. Let's not go with the review numbers now, because like I want you to watch it again, see where your heart is. But it's a hard go to watch it again. It just is, because other than the look of the movie, because it did look good, there isn't much to come back to. You know what I mean? Like I'd rather watch Interstellar again or Inception. Those are really good movies. And like if you watch Memento, that'll blow your fucking socks back. And that's like a better version of this concept. It just is. And you resonate with the character more. See, I think they gave him too much money, and because of that, he's able to do these grandiose things. So he gets so focused on doing these huge scenes and set pieces to be his it factor, rather than focusing on the story itself.
I don't know that that's the case. I think he wants to get to those, but I think he started with the concept first.
Okay.
What it feels like with this movie.
Okay.
I don't know if they spent more time writing, you know, Inception. It feels like it.
Doesn't it? Yeah.
Especially, I mean, we talked about this last time, but you know, I watched it. I don't know whatever time it was, but At the beginning, he said he wants to get off the train. And they're like, "You don't have to get off the train. They're not going to search all the carriages." And he goes, "I just don't like trains."
And it makes
And it's
sense.
like he's still traumatized. And to me, it made sense because I'm watching. I was like, "Yeah, it's what he used to get out of the dream from with his wife." And then I was like, "Wait a minute! They thought that far back in the script,
Yeah.
to reference it in a real casual. It's a throwaway. It could just be like, well, guy doesn't like trains, Then you realize why. And they don't spell it out for you. It's not like he says, well, remember at the beginning of the movie when I told you I didn't like trains? Well, this is why.
You know what? That's something that this movie does do, but because of that, it's egregious. They don't explain a lot of things. They just go with it. Like the conversations go so far that doesn't make sense. He'll go, so would you kidnap a child? Like fucking random. Like they're just sussing each other out. And he goes, would you steal a child? How about a woman? If I had to. And I was like, I get what they're doing, but no.
Yeah, I mean, well, for me, with the Inception, they don't have to point out their callbacks.
They're don't.
It's part of the universe. It's part of the character. It's something that they would say, but you don't really pick up on the motivations for them saying it until after you watch it.
Yeah, the movie was so layered, and we can keep talking about it, but the Tenet movie, I'm telling you, there's nothing there like to do this. There's not a part where I'm like, oh, spinning top, or oh, that's why he said this. In fact, when I'm watching YouTube videos, I watched a bunch of YouTube videos before I watched the second time, and I paid attention to when they were wearing red and blue. Just on the off chance that there'd be some shit that I didn't miss. No. It was just a cool effect. I'm like, oh man, the cop cars, they're only doing red and blue. So obviously that means they're inverted. No. No. There was a part where there was some lady. It got so bad. There was a lady so there's a part where she's kissing her kid, telling them we're going to go to Pompeii together. And there's a lady wearing red. I'm like, and she was the only one. I'm like, oh, she must be inverted, because red meant inverted and blue meant not inverted, So I was just like, oh, that's what it means, No, none of that. She wore a red dress and then she wears a blue dress. And that, I mean, other than the fact that some time has passed, it's just her changing dresses, and it just so happens she is in the inversion when she's wearing black. She was tall too.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah. I think
I didn't pick up on it, but she was the sovereign queen in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Wow. Really? I didn't know that. That's fucking cool.
My girlfriend picked up on it. She was like, hey, she was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2. I was like, what? And then I checked it out.
Well, once you said it, it's in my head now. I get it. Yeah, definitely. She's too tall, though. You don't want to have, like, the chick taller than the protagonist. Then it doesn't make sense if there's some kind of a thing that they're trying to make, because they made it look like they were trying to get together, and I think they would have, but at the same time, it just, for optics wise, you know how like you have to do certain scenes in a certain way when you have a protagonist and you have an like the love interest, I guess.
It was a little distracting sometimes. I don't mind the whole tall versus not tall versus short thing.
I agree,
but in this one, I was just like, fuck, she's tall.
Yeah, well, like it wouldn't have bothered me because she's tall in Guardians of the Galaxy. I bet she's taller than what's his name, Chris Pratt. But it doesn't matter because the way they made the movie. But you made her a center character getting with another center character. The optics wise, it just doesn't look right, so it's less believable, and therefore you're you subconsciously you're not like for this. You're just not. Now, yeah, you like consciously you're gonna be like, oh yeah, there should be nothing wrong. I get you. But then again, there's a reason why you're establishing shots so that you know where you're at. You don't need it.
It's a language of the cinema.
It is. No. Yeah, you want if the villain is talking to the good guy, you want them kind of even when you're filming them. But if like someone has an advantage, you can make the camera go a certain way where the character is higher than the other, and subconsciously you're saying, oh well, that person's on top because they know what they're talking about, but consciously you're not really noticing it You know what I mean? Same thing with the fucking woman being taller than him. It's not like that's a bad thing. It's just like optically you're watching your main character sell something he can't sell. You know, even though, I mean, yeah, presence, gravitas, but in reality, when we're talking about love interests in movies, that's not going to be one of them. Even though
my thing was, it's just that I noticed how tall she was.
exactly.
I didn't have a problem with, you know, if they were standing next to each other. It just jumped out at me.
It did
multiple times.
Yeah, and around other people, like
and how thin she was too was like.
I never noticed that.
It exaggerated how tall she was. But
yeah,
I mean, not that. I mean, I don't have a problem with it, but it just took me out of the movie for some reason. It just reminded me, like, yeah, she's tall.
Yeah, it like subconsciously. I mean, it hits a lot of negative points, and she is attractive, and her being tall and skinny has nothing to do with anything. It's just, right. But when you have her juxtaposed against other characters, it just kind of throws you off, and then therefore the whole scenario is unbelievable. Even though you can ask a person and be like, yeah, what do you think about that? Yeah, it's totally okay. But we're not going to be talking about this movie and their relationship 10 years from now. We're just not, because it was just badly done. They
even make up for it, like in Avengers. You know,
yeah.
Robert Downey Jr. is wearing the suit or boots anytime he's standing next to, you know, Chris Hemsworth or Chris Pratt or Chris Evans.
Yeah, because they understand cinematography, fucking ambience, dude. There's a reason why you have certain things, because there's a language there that's there. And then like in this movie, it's like they were, I don't know, it's not like it's woke, but they were just like, this shouldn't be an issue, but it is. And like, yeah, obviously I'm calling it out, but I watch a lot of shit, you know what I mean? And I can articulate what I'm thinking. You know what I mean? Like some people can watch a movie and just be like, I like it. Why? I don't know. And then I can explain why you probably like it. I'm not saying I'm a genius. I'm just saying like, it just makes sense, you know? And then like, if you go back and watch other movies, how many times do you have the heroine bigger than the hero? And it just doesn't work. They have to have an energy to him. In fact, Chris Pine is smaller than I think he's shorter than like fucking Wonder Woman. Oh. It's because she's tall. But when you're watching the movie, they never really do that. They don't make her taller than him because it'd just be unbelievable. It just wouldn't. I mean, that's a thing though. Women can be taller than dudes. That's the thing. But genuinely, I mean, they don't get people that are shorter than them. And so it's just less believable.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, man, if Wonder Woman's right here, Chris Pine's right here, and they're having a conversation, that you wouldn't believe that this guy gets with Wonder Woman. It just seems kind of fake, you know? And there's all sorts of instances like that, little things here and there where it's like the relationship is unbelievable because of the nature of what it is. You know what I mean? You can't just say, oh yeah, it should just work, but it doesn't. Oh, because you think a way or it should work, it doesn't, you know, like,
I'm sure it came up, but you know, they probably liked her interpretation of the character best.
What do you mean?
In other words, I mean, you have people come in and read for a part, you know, you as a director or casting director or whatever, you end up having to balance out, you know, the whole usual height thing with, well, whose interpretation of the character was best? Because when an actor comes in to read, there's nobody to base it off of. You have to read the lines and then try to interpret or try to see how the director saw those lines being said, or even have an interpretation ready that the director might not have thought of but would like to see.
But that's why you would have a cinematographer or a director or an editor that's looking at the fucking movie and be like, this isn't working because the way they are. I mean, you have a good movie. You just have, like, for instance, Bane. Bane is shorter than Batman.
Just said, fuck it. This is probably one where they just said, fuck it. You know, we'll go full heightist on this one, or full anti-height, or full woke. I don't know what you want to call it.
Well, it's bad directing then. I mean, you know what I mean? Like, you wouldn't let that happen in any other movie, but for some reason, this movie, they're just like, fuck it. We got planes crashing in and shit. Because like they paid attention, right? They casted a great actor for the Dark Knight. The one with the Bane. What the fuck is that one?
Rises.
Yeah. He is shorter than Christian Bale, and he's not as big, but they casted it and they paid attention to it. And they did all sorts of shit and angles. They were paying attention. This movie, they didn't give zero fucks. They were like, yeah, you know what? Fuck it. It should work. Men can be smaller than women. That's okay. Yeah, it's totally believable. And then like now, you know, we're watching the movie, and after the fact, you have to articulate your thoughts on this. And you're going to put in, because you're not really thinking about it, you're going to put in other shit and the reason why you don't like it. But reality is, it was a combination of a lot of things here. They didn't have good writing, and they had bad cinematography. They just had her taller than everybody, where to the point it stood out to you. You know, and you're pretty woke, you know, like, I mean, like, you would have ignored it any other means.
It's not that I have a problem with tall women. It was just
nobody does.
It just stood out.
Exactly.
Nobody. When you see the cables, you know, it just reminds you that you're watching a movie.
Yeah. Well, and that's bad directing and bad cinematography.
What about tall guys? Well, even with tall guys, they'll usually set things up so that it's not an exaggerated.
Exactly.
Talking to each other.
Exactly. There's like there's a message that the movie conveys without you even knowing it. And you're right. It's not just a man or a woman thing. It's just that at best you want them to be equal. If anything, you know, it would be more like you can accept it if he was taller. At best, equal.
It's how you arrange the shot.
Exactly.
It's how you arrange the shot.
She can be tall as she wants. You just have to make the shot work. You know what I mean? Give the language, you know, even when you're like having him over, they paid attention to the villainy of it. Every time they showed the villain fucking triumphing over somebody, they always kind of pan towards him and he was above them. And I mean, like they're paying attention there, but they're like, you know what? Fuck these two. And they didn't even write anything for those two to there was nothing. There's nothing there, you know? So I don't even know what the fuck that was. But whatever on that. What we got music. The music I thought was good. It kind of turned into noise towards the end, though.
The sound mixing was a legit thing. Now, you watched it. Were you able to clearly understand what people were saying?
Okay, I've heard people gripe about this. The first go, I had my surround sound going, and I'm watching it, and I thought it was just the accents were very thick. So the second time, I got my headphones out with my ear, and I just isolated the voices. And I had the benefit of subtitles, so I subtitled it just so I can hear what they're saying. And I'm good, you know, believe it or not, I'm good with that because he fucked up with the Dark Knight Rises.
Yeah,
Bane, he should have kept it mysterious. I think that was good. So in this one, I felt like he learned his lesson because their accents were super thick. And that gave it more presence of, you know, they're all around the world. So they did it with voices, but he didn't do it with shots. Whatever. I mean, I was cool with that. It was really hard to understand them the first go. The second time, I had advantages.
My problem wasn't... There's a way to tune sound so that it sounds warmer, right? Or so it sounds like glassier. Right, higher,
like tinny,
more tinny, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it depends on what your listening environment is.
Yeah.
My problem was it sounded hollow, but I think it's because we were in a hollow fucking theater, listening to something turned up to 11, and so really the other kind of sounds that would get absorbed by bodies wasn't getting absorbed. So we were getting everything.
I think you're just trying to nerd-splain something that the quality of sound is being said about that across the board. Everyone's saying that.
No, until I watch it at home. I won't
That's
be able
true.
to for sure until I watch it at home.
But you're kind of cheating the system when you're at home because it's designed for just you.
Right, but
you're cheating though.
Well, no, because usually in a movie theater, it's designed for a lot of people, and it works. It works, right? Normally, it works. Here, it didn't work. I mean, and it's not like I'm following everybody. I'm like, how bad could it be? And when I was watching, I was like, I wish I had subtitles. I'm like,
I had subtitles.
Even the conversation that he had with Michael Caine, I'm like, and I'm like, God damn it.
Yeah.
Why is it so hard to understand what they're saying? And I'm thinking, the whole time I'm thinking, I bet you it's because this place is fucking empty.
I have to say this. Look, when you make sound, you got to make it sound good no matter what. And then if you go home with your sound or a theater with better quality sound, it should make it sound better. Now, if you've created a thing that can't be adaptive for people to hear in other theaters and even at home, then you didn't do your job. Now, when you listen at home, it's different. It should be without no settings. You should be able to hear it just right, the way it should be. And then you, being you, audiophile, you adjust your shit to make it even better. Me too.
Well, that's why. I mean, I'm waiting until the 15th when it comes out. I'm sticking in my PS5 and see what it sounds like.
And if it sounds like garbage, which it did, like, I mean, I'm cheating the system, let's just say, and I can hear the sound, and it's garbage. And then what I did was I tricked the system and it just giving me the voices. I mean, like the sounds there, and it's not as tinny. You're right. It's like broken glass. It's the quality was garbage because they didn't. I don't know who compiled the sound. It wasn't the right people, because it was explosions going over the voices, and the voices weren't clear.
Well, I mean, even when they were just talking.
Yeah, no, yeah. When they're talking, like, it's muffled.
Ambient sounds were washing them out. And even
it was muffled.
Sounded muffled.
Yeah, it was muffled. And like it's not just that. It's because it's the accents they're strong, but it's the dialogue too. Because the way they're talking, there's a rhythm to people talking up and down and left and right. And then that's like, well, hey, what? Like a question or enunciating things like, this is Sparta or some shit like that, right? When they're talking, the dialogue is as such monotone.
Yeah, it's pretty flat.
Yeah, and then so when you have that Michael Caine, he's being debonair, he's just like blah, 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 but he's just in a straight baritone kind of thing. Da 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 da. Well, da 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 da. That's all he would do. And the other guy, he ain't got much. He has to react to whatever the other guy's saying. So he just says, oh, yeah. That's the way it is. And that's why it just sounded like garbage. There's 2 points where this happened. No, 3 points. When he's talking to the lady, obscure Tenet, he talks to her, and her voice is her accent's pretty thick. But like I said, it's the same fucking kind of dialogue. They're just talking in a straight way, and they're not going up and down, not being surprised. I don't know. I don't think she was acting. I don't know. It didn't sound like she was acting per se. Like, you got to feel it. She was just talking like as if she was just reading straight across. But that's not a knock on her. That's just the dialogue. It's just straight. You know what I mean? There's no passion. What's her motivation? I have to figure some shit out. And the way her motivation is, it's like she's bored with her own concept. She's bored with this whole ideal of inversion. She's like,
it could even be that Nolan was holding back and not telling everybody everything about the part they were playing.
That's true.
To preserve plot points or spoilers or whatever.
It's true though, because I don't know, maybe the acting wasn't good because Michael Caine learned a lot of shit in Inception by asking the director, and the director would then tell him. He goes, what's my motivation here? Am I dream guy or not dream guy? And Michael Caine isn't the fucking smartest guy on earth. He's just a really good actor. So it's like he gives a shit about dreams and shit. He's just like, well, what do I do here? Am I this guy or that guy? I don't feel like anyone was doing that. They're like, so what is my motivation in this part? Have I been doing this forever? Or am I just bored with this? Because that's what she was doing. She was bored with this exciting thing. It should have been like when he goes to shoots the bullet and catches it. And he's like, what the? He didn't even react. He should have been like, what the fuck? This is crazy.
It should have been like Independence Day. Oh, yeah. His face is like, whoa. I'd have been like, what the fuck is this? Right now.
I want your movie. Like, you should have been that actor. Because she should have been like, right? This is fucking crazy.
I don't know if you remember in Independence Day when they go to Area 51 and the lead scientist at Area 51, he's all excited.
Yeah.
He even tells him, he's all, as you could probably guess, we don't get a lot of visitors here.
Yeah.
You know, he's excited to share his discoveries with new people because he's probably been bored this whole time.
Yeah.
The movie presents him with an opportunity to share and you know, gives him, you know, he gets all excited and stuff. This one should have been something similar.
So no one was excited. Nothing. No one's excited. You know, no one's like, wow. Like when they stole that shit, not stole, they didn't even steal. when they crashed the plane, they should have been like, what the fuck? You know, like we fucking did it. But you don't even know what victory you had because they found the inversion thing. The whole thing was to get to this fucking tunnel to find something you didn't even know. And they found the inversion thing. And one of the best lines is after that, when they're like, it's kind of like they're, the post-game report. Robert Patterson's like, I'm alive, so therefore I must have some use, because he just assumes the shit he saw was so top secret. Oh man, that makes me mad just thinking about it. So he thinks, oh yeah, this shit's so top secret, they're gonna kill me, which would have been cool, but in reality, he's just pretending to say that, which takes away that whole line. You know, he goes, well, if I'm still here, that means I'm some use. And like, I just saw some shit I shouldn't be alive for. And I was like, oh, this is fucking dope. I was like, this is it. But it turns out he already knew all that shit. And he's just lying to say that. Then the other guy, Washington, he goes, how did he say it? I just expected to find a pitcher, you know, and some reverse bullets, you know, that's what he says. But we found a fucking inverted guy, and we fought him, and all this shit happens. And I was like, this is good writing. At that point in time, I thought that was good writing. On the second pass, now I'm like, well, is that good writing? Because like they're just, one guy's pretending to be amazed, I guess, and then the other guy is just, I don't know. His line's still good. His lines are still good.
Well, I mean, how much does Robert Pattinson know? How much does Neil know about what has to happen?
Yeah, he does.
He is surprised when he finds out that he was fighting himself too.
Yeah, when he's fighting the guy.
He's fighting. They're both fighting inverted versions of themselves. So that when he sees him, he's like, "Oh shit!" And he goes back and stops the protagonist from, you know, killing himself. You know?
Yeah, basically. Don't kill yourself, bro. No. He doesn't look surprised. He looked like, oh, this shit. Okay, got it.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. How much does he know? It's like he knows some.
He has to know quite a bit.
He also has to have some gray areas too, where he's not knowing exactly what happens.
It would be dumb for him to not know a lot, but it's dumb for him to know a lot. So it's just it's a conundrum unto itself, a paradox, because like he's from the future, and he has to know enough to go back at that time to do certain things.
Right.
But if he does know, then he will effectively change time. But if he doesn't know, then what the fuck were you doing in the future, guy? You know, like
it could also be
fireworks.
It could also be, you know, the protagonist only told him exactly what he needed to know.
Agreed.
You know, just like John Connor only told Kyle Reese what Kyle Reese needed to know.
It's
you know,
it's a weird thing though, because when you think about it, it's like he could have went back all the way and then start time from there, but then he's going back again like twice over, and you know,
he's doing one of these. He's like going through, as you know, let's say he started as a kid.
Okay.
Goes through kid, goes back, helps the protagonist, and then goes back again
to die
to save him.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens. But you don't know how many times he goes back and forth.
Oh, actually, no. Well, yeah, he could have done it multiple times.
Yeah.
Where he goes through, because he's actually there at the opera.
Yeah, he is in the opera house. Yeah. So when did he go back and do that?
That might have been him going back, then forward, then back again, then forward, then I don't know.
And you get, and like, where the fuck are they going? Like, where did he go for 10 years going backwards in time?
Just hanging out. That's why I'm saying he was probably all like fucked up because he'd been going through time for 10 years and he's just now getting the chance to come out of it.
Yeah, because like
house.
Yeah, seeing a bird for the first time and shit, going the right way. He's like, oh fuck, crazy. Yeah, no, you're right. No, I didn't pick that up either, and I watched it twice. I didn't even think about how fucked up he would be for going back in time for 10 years. If that's truly what he did. You don't know. He could have been going back 5 years, doing some shit, a year. I mean, like, it seemed that's pretty fucking nauseating. Just think about it. But it was cool too. They had to bring oxygen to the time. But like that, I when they did that, I thought to myself, I was like, well, wouldn't light be different too? Like, because if if air isn't right, why would light be the same? Even smells, like all your senses would be backwards. But whatever. I turn my brain off.
It would be backwards. Everything would be dark because there's no light hitting your eyes.
Yeah, because it's going away from you. Light's going away because you're going backwards.
Well, but then you're also getting the light that light doesn't bounce out of your eyes as efficiently as goes into your eyes.
Yeah, it's coming out. Everything's going out.
Right.
Because like if the wind is pushing you because or gravity's pulling you, I guess. Or no, gravity's already pulling you. So it's pushing you. Then. Fuck, I don't know.
You should be able to super jump.
Yeah, another thing about entropy, like it's like energy, dissipating. It has nothing to do with time travel. So I was just like, well, I thought that means you're just going limp. Like I thought that was well. So, okay, so the music, there's the sound, the re-engagement. You got to watch it again to get to where I'm at, I would say.
Yeah, I'm not gonna watch it till the 15th when it comes out.
Yeah, then it comes out the 15th, right? 4K. You gonna get that? 4K. Well, does the PlayStation 5 render movies good?
I actually haven't tested it out on a movie yet.
You should. I mean, like, 4K isn't just 4K. You also have to process the images, and like, it's one thing. Like, I hate to say it, but Blu-ray players are different. Yeah, and like
the Xbox 2, when they first came out, they found that the Xbox rendered colors and images poorly compared to, like a dedicated 4K player.
And how do you have your sound system set up? Do you have sound? Do you have the PlayStation straight video to the TV and the sound coming out of the TV, or
everything's running straight to my receiver and then to my TV?
Yeah, that's the way to go, right? Hit the receiver and then receiver to the TV. And like Anthony's anti that. He's all about purity, but I don't think the PlayStation has enough ports for that. It only has the one HDMI.
That is the closest you can get to purity, because all it's doing is just taking the data that it's receiving, the video data, and passing it through to the TV.
Pass through, yeah. But no, if you wanted true purity, which this isn't a thing. This is just not a thing.
Purity, you go straight to the TV.
Yeah, you would go straight to the TV, and then somehow, in some shape or form, have another HDMI slot going into the but that's impossible. So you have to go through the receiver to go to that's the purest way. You want to go through the receiver. I mean, and then even if you connected it straight to the TV, you would not notice the difference,
My Sony player, I picked it up because it actually has two HDMI outs, an audio out and a video out.
Huh.
But I'm not running it like that anymore. I was running it like that, but then I got this receiver. It's all Sony. So everything's compatible with everything else. If I turn on my PlayStation, it turns everything else on for me that I need on, so it doesn't turn on.
That's the AM. There's a setting. It's called ANT. Wait, what is this shit called? Maybe I have it on this thing.
It's the HDCP.
Yeah.
Handshake protocol or something like that.
No, it's not handshake, but it's because you're using it through the ARC, right? The HDMI ARC.
It's called HDMI control. It's not.
It's
ARC.
called the AnyNet HDMI CEC.
That's it.
I have it on my TV. That's why I think that's a cool little function. But sometimes it's fucked up because I don't want it to turn my fucking PlayStation on all the time.
No, mine's pretty smart. It only turns on what I need to turn on. So if I turn on the TV, it only turns on the TV and the receiver because I want the receiver to be sounding all the time.
My TV's
dumb.
dumb.
The PlayStation, then it turns on the PlayStation, the TV, and the receiver.
Because
if I turn on the Blu-ray player, it turns on the TV and the receiver. It I don't know, but I mean, all my shit is pretty new.
Well, it's because I have because my PlayStation's hooked up to my TV, and I usually have like a computer and other things set up to it. But right now, I'm running just the PlayStation to the TV, and then of course my receiver. So and everything I watch is through my apps on the TV itself.
Yep.
And what happens is I don't know why, but if I'm not watching an app, it'll naturally assume that I was watching my PlayStation. But if I had my computer hooked up, I'd be set. There would be no problem because it's thinking, oh, he's using his computer, but because it's always on. But because it's the PlayStation and that is all, it's like once the app Netflix isn't, you're not watching Netflix, so obviously you're playing your PlayStation. I'm like, fuck it, piece of shit. Like, and it's a cool function that doesn't really. Most people don't have this problem because they have more than one thing hooked up to their TV. And that's my only problem. I would have to hook up something else to the thing. It's fucking annoying. Yeah, but the PlayStation, I wonder how it has to process 4K pretty good. Like it should be the best Blu-ray 4K Blu-ray player. It should be by default.
Yeah, I mean the processor's strong enough to go ahead and do all the video codecs and the sound.
Fuck yes. Awesome. It should be fucking awesome.
I just haven't tested it yet.
You know what's a son of a bitch is the computer. Okay, so Sony, the way they design shit, right, is because they own 4K and Blu-ray and shit like that, and they rent it out to everybody else, which is pretty clever. So I have 4K video card. I have to buy the fucking software. Like I'll have a burner, 4K burner, everything. You have to buy the software to fucking use it, even though you have it. You know what I mean? Like that's stupid. And they've done this forever since Blu-ray. You can have a Blu-ray burner, and you could burn shit on Blu-ray and watch it. But if you wanted to watch a fucking Blu-ray, you have to buy their license or whatever the fuck.
Software licenses.
Yeah, that's so fucking annoying. And there's ways I can go around it, to go around it. I don't want to do that though. That's the thing. I want to be legit, but I don't want to pay extra money for something I already have. That's so fucking annoying. And they did that with 4K too. So I was like, it bothers me because I'd rather process through the computer than I would a PlayStation 5. But I mean, like, I don't have that luxury right now. So, I mean, so I get that PlayStation 5, it'd be straight on. I don't have a 4K video card anyway, so it doesn't matter. Which are cheap too. You can buy like a $50 one.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll probably still use my 4K player anyways, just so that I don't put so many miles on the PS5.
I would. If I were you, I would use I would fucking go the distance. You know why?
Why?
You buy another one. You're gonna buy a fucking another one. You're gonna buy the PlayStation 5 Plus or whatever the fuck they call it.
Yeah, but I'm also thinking that having a dedicated player also made my PS Pro last longer. Especially in the heat and all that stuff.
Do you think that was a factor? That's a thing? Like you've had PlayStation 4 burnout?
No, because I've always had a player. I've always had something to play the movies.
No, but like
I did use the Pro for about a year or two to watch movies. And then when I got the dedicated Blu-ray player, the 4K one, I actually noticed a jump in the quality.
Yeah. That's weird, right? Because you would think, because I remember when PlayStation 3 came out, and it was the first like Blu-ray player. Not the first, but it was like, in the beginning. And then when you got a Blu-ray player that was like $100, it was like leaps and bounds better. Yeah. And you're like, what the fuck? Is this like, you would think that it'd just be a Blu-ray and it just play, but in reality, it's not like that. And which makes me mad if PlayStation 5 isn't all the way, because then it's repeating everything it's done before.
Well, I don't know that it is or it isn't because I haven't tried it yet.
You should watch a movie that what it looks like visually.
Dunkirk.
And
yeah, there's some scenes with the Moonstone and the boat and the planes, and I could compare them because they're both plugged in. I mean, I have both bitches plugged in right now. So.
Both 4K.
I have my 4K Blu-ray player and my PS5 plugged in.
No, you would have to take the movie out and put it in there.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I could look at certain scenes and figure out, what details can I see here, or colors and all that shit, and then put the other one in.
Have you seen let's end this with Mandalorian talk just real quick. What'd you think?
His fucking show is good.
It's better than the movies.
My only problem with it is it's starting to feel like they're using it to build out other properties.
You're right. Because as soon as
it's almost becoming transparent is my problem.
Well, because you could tell that they're going to come out with an Osaka show. Or what's her name? Osaka? Ahsoka, yeah. You could tell they're going to make another show, right? When you watch that?
I'd rather it all stayed within the Mandalorian.
I know, right?
I feel like it.
They can't help it.
Bigger. I don't know.
I don't think it's about bigger. It's about quality. Because when you watch Mandalorian, does that not feel?
I don't mean bigger like bigger action. I mean just bigger story, because the Star Wars universe is full of characters, right? Mm-hmm. And you can go with Ahsoka. You can go with oh shit, who's the other girl? The Mandalorians.
Oh, I don't know. I know what you're talking about, but
goddamn name is
Battlestar Galactica chick.
Yeah.
Kara Thrice.
You can go with that Mandalorian plan too, but it just feels like when Ahsoka tells him at the end, I can't train him, and he's like, we had a deal, and he was like, and then Ahsoka was like, okay, go to this planet. I was like, fuck. It's starting to feel like, go here, now go there, now go here, now go there.
I'm good with that, because I see in this they're doing Avengers, but in Star Wars, but in their own little TV show, because you can have a movie and you can put all these characters together.
Yes and no, but if every episode or arc ends with go to this planet, find this person, they'll help you, and then it's like psych, it's like,
oh, I hear you.
The princess is in another castle. And
yeah, I hear you. I'm good. I'm good with that to an extent. It needs to go somewhere, obviously.
I'm still okay. I'm still on board. I'm not hating on it. I'm just like, it's a crack that I'm seeing. I'm like, shit. How much of this is Jon Favreau trying to drive the vision of the Mandalorian, and how much of it is Disney saying, hey, you guys did such a great fucking job, but now we need you guys to introduce these other properties so that we can start making money off of those now too.
Well, they got the right guy for it, because if you watch Clone Wars, which I'm doing again, and I'm on season 4 already, they literally they have so much fun making these shows, because they had an episode with Obi-Wan, then they spilt over to another character, Ventress, and then
so I started watching some of it, right?
Yeah.
I watched the movie.
Oh.
Yeah, that was weird. Ahsoka's introduction was...
Yeah. Snips? I don't like it.
It didn't make a lot of sense. She's talking all kinds of trash when really it should be like, hey, you're a Padawan. You need to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
And she's talking shit to him in front of other people, and really they should have shut her up a long time ago, right?
Yeah.
Watch episode 1, and Obi-Wan just like subtly doubts Qui-Gon in front of others, and Qui-Gon just gives him a look like... And then afterwards, Obi-Wan practically is on his knees, saying, I'm so sorry. I shouldn't have fucking,
yeah,
I shouldn't have said that shit and this and that. He's like, hey man, don't worry about it. They say their thing, right? But it's a big deal. It lingers to the point where Obi-Wan has to apologize for it. And it's not even that big of a deal. In this one, Ahsoka's just like straight up talking shit, undermining him, challenging his authority, giving him a nickname, not showing any respect. And I'm like, and then she's wearing this fucking tube top thing, and I'm like, what Jedi warrior outfit is that? Well, everybody else is all armored up.
Yeah, well, if you watch, oh man, this show is so good. If you get to the season 4, I mean, like after season 1, it's bad. It's just bad. But season 2 and up, it's so good. They build on so many other characters. They add a character here, and then they make a bunch of episodes with this character, almost like a movie. You know what I mean? And like, so that's why I'm like, this is the guy to do it, because he took a show and he just builds up little stories here and there, and we just explore these characters. Like for Ventress, we spent 3 episodes watching her lose her fucking family, fight a bunch of fucking people, become a bounty hunter, and find new meaning in life. And it's like 3 hours, not 3 hours. It's like an hour and a half. There's like 3 episodes and just her. And there's an episode with Rex and his group and how they become awesome. There's like an episode where this one bounty hunter who wears a hat and how cool he is, and his group of people. And it's like an hour and a half. There's like little segments there, and they can just keep going. And like, if you have the perfect guy for this, you want to make him have a TV show, he can just explore a character and without even having the main characters. Right now, he hasn't even got started.
And that's what I'm saying. It would be cool to revisit those characters within Mandalorian. I don't know about creating full-on shows, because
I agree.
You're not going to have Dave Filoni unless he becomes, the
main guy. Yeah.
The main guy for the entire universe.
If you can have him in there, you're good, because Dave Filoni did not write a lot of the best Star Wars episodes, but he is the showrunner. And there's a continuity to that. So when you watch the Clone Wars, shit, you literally could have called it something else. Star Wars fucking troopers, Star Wars bandits, Star Wars bounty hunters. And it would have been a show, because it's like, you can have 12 episodes of this. And he does. It does. It's like 26 episodes per season, and there's 7 seasons or some shit like that. And it's, if you wanted to, if you make him do a show, it's what, 6 episodes, 10 episodes? I mean, that's 10 hours of content. He's done that in spades. He's done that. So he could definitely, as long as he's part of it, that's the part. And he doesn't necessarily need to write it. He just needs to be part of it, which he was in the Clone Wars. And if you watch this show, and it's so fucking violent, they kill people so much. And there's a lot of sexual innuendos. Like there's parts where this guy's like, you can work it off. You killed our bounty hunter friend, and there's only 2 ways you can get out of it. You can either join us, or you can work it out in other ways. He starts licking his tongue. He's like, I was like, this is for kids. But no, it is not for kids. There's a part where Ventress when Snips cuts 4 Mandalorians' heads off. They're people. They're not drones. They're people. She just cuts their heads off, because guess what they were doing in that episode? They were raping people. They had a whole village, Death Watch. They were just fucking raping people left and right. But they said it, but they didn't say it. Right. But that's what they were like. You took my woman and did this, and then you start killing them, and then she ends up just fucking murdering them all. And I was just like, wow. But it makes sense though with the Jedi Order. They're not about killing people. Isn't really in their head when they're killing you. They're returning you to the Force. Batman's not really killing you. He's just he's just hurting you, and then you die later on. But that's what they're doing. They're just returning you to the Force, which is what a great way of thinking. And I wish a Jedi or a Sith Lord would point that out. You guys are just like us. You just fucking think it differently. I'm killing this guy because I hate him. You're killing this guy for justice. It's the same fucking thing, except we're just calling it different words. Right, but nobody has that kind of that self awareness in that show or shows.
I like Rosario Dawson. I thought it was going to be distracting, but no.
I have a theory though. Dave Filoni wrote and directed this episode, and of course he's the showrunner, and that's his baby. That's his fucking love. Okay, yeah. I would put any amount of money to say that she doesn't know anything about this character, the story, nothing. I mean, she could do research, but it's not the same thing as you and me watching it. It's just us studying math. I'm not really into it, but I have to do it, that kind of thing. She the way she played it, it seemed like she wanted to go one way with it, but she was pushed to do another. So she's in these set scenes, and then she's doing these certain things, and she's being real morose about it. But Dave Filoni's there. So I feel like this is what he wanted this character to be in life, because when you watch the show, she's happy-go-lucky, And she's such a great character. She really is. Like the whole show is great with her in it. Like I really do love this character. So when she shows up in Rebels, she's different, and that's cool. So when you see her in this, she should be. She's older.
Well, not just that, but you know, her master and what she went through with him.
Yeah. Oh, it's so cool in Rebels when she doesn't know. In Rebels, she doesn't know what happens. She just assumed he's dead. And when she finds out what it is, and she's like scratching the surface of who this guy is, and she's like, this guy is fucking hard to kill because she's killing all these people. And then this guy comes out of nowhere, Darth Vader, and he's like really good. And she feels this connection to him. And then the way there's a beauty in it that where she says, she goes, it's like there's a tremendous sadness when I'm fighting him. And there is, because he trained her and she's everything he wanted to be, and she's good and she's awesome, and I'm a bad guy and I killed younglings, you know. And then of course his guilt is fueling him, which makes him 10 times more powerful. You know what I mean?
That's why when she talks about, you know, like sensing the fear in
Grody. What's his name?
Grogu.
That's so stupid. That's a stupid
name.
Yeah,
like
Grogu. Yeah. Yeah, that was pretty good.
But when she's talking about, you know, like I've seen what this does, you know, to the best of us, and she's like, you could see her like she's going through it again.
Yeah. She is a good actress, that Rosario Dawson, coupled with Dave Filoni right there to lead her as the character. Because, like, if she took liberties with it, she would take it in places it shouldn't go. Because that's an established character that goes in a certain arc. So, like...
Rosario Dawson, she's famous enough, but I don't think she's famous enough to say, oh, I think it should happen this way.
I have a feeling she would do that. She would
I don't think she's that strong enough. I don't think she's that strong.
I've heard her talk and I've seen her do movies, and I feel like she's the personality to be like, I'll take this movie where it needs to take. Not like arrogance, and it is, but it's more of I think this character should do this, but and most times you're right. However, you have a history with this character. You know what I mean? 10 years of an established character. So you can't, there's not many places you can take it. You can't just have Kirk be like, I love math. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, right? You can't bring anything in out of left field.
Yeah, so you have to play it unfortunately, you have to play it a certain way. Same thing with you can only take it in different routes if the story lends itself there.
You've seen more obviously more Clone Wars and Rebels than I have.
And yeah.
So Rosario Dawson's interpretation of Ahsoka, the writing, does it fit with everything else?
It felt like this. Here's the path you should be going. It felt like it kept going like this and then going like this. Like they're only in acting choices, like the way she would act. She would act too withdrawn. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you could do that with that character, but she didn't take it too far.
Okay.
You know what I mean? She's not supposed to be stoic. You know what I mean? Like, I've seen some shit. And although, yes, you have, that's not what your character is at that place in time. You're still trying to, you finished killing the bad guys, right? Because this is after Return of the Jedi. Supposedly, some people are trying to say that this time takes place before Rebels, but in reality, Rebels ends with the Return of the Jedi. Like right after the fucking Death Star dies, that's when the Rebels ends. And they're going to look for Ezra and Thrawn, which is a thing they bring up in this show.
Yeah.
Like, where's Thrawn? That kind of blew me away when she said that. I was like, whoa, what the fuck? When did this become a thing? You know, Thrawn was some bad shit, but not like that, you know?
You know what? Depending on how the new Luke Skywalker interpretation goes.
What do you mean?
Oh man, I'd love to see Shadows of the Empire.
What are you talking about? What are you talking about?
You didn't know they cast somebody for Luke Skywalker?
Why? But why? But for who?
Mandalorian.
He's gonna be a Mandalorian. He is?
It looks. I've seen some. I don't know if it's like concept fan art. It looks good.
Wait,
Like
what? Why? I guess. I mean, he spends 30 years doing shit, you know?
Sebastian Stan.
No, I've seen that before even this show. They talked about him being like like he's like the child of Luke Skywalker because he looks just
No,
like him.
he would have to be Luke Skywalker.
No, I know. As a joke, people
Oh,
use deep fakes to put him in movies, and that was a thing. I didn't know that was actually going to be a thing. Why would you do that? You know. So Return of the Jedi happens. This show happens, and then you have
5 years after this show happens.
It is. It's 5 years after Return of the Jedi. Well, oh shit, that's weird. Because when they go to look for Ezra and Thawne, it's right after Return of the Jedi, and you're saying it's 5 years later. I mean, like, what the fuck, man? Like,
She's still looking for him.
Yeah, and she wasn't even a pivotal character in the fucking show. You know what I mean? She was in the show, but she wasn't like she had something to do. You know what I mean? She was just there guiding, young Ezra, to the point where Ezra fucking resurrects her or whatever. I don't know. I thought her character depiction was only good because the director was there, but it felt like she was trying to change lanes because she doesn't really know that character. She doesn't.
Yeah, she might not have been trying to change lanes. She just probably didn't know what the lane was.
No, she wasn't. She was doing her own thing. And like, you take the lines and you do your own thing. But like, I mean, I don't know. It's hard to tell what you're going to do with this character. And if you made another show, I could see that going south. Could she hold it on her own? There are episodes in Clone Wars where it's just her, and they're really good, but it's young version of her. In Rebels, she's just there as a set piece. She's not really there as like a main character doing anything other than to give us who watch Clone Wars something to do. You really should watch it though. The show is fucking fantastic.
No, I don't have time to watch the whole thing. I picked up a list of essentials.
Yeah, they have that on the Disney app, the 20 essentials. But like, okay, so me and Seth were going through them, and then we got to season 4. And a lot of that doesn't make sense if you don't watch season 4.
No, this was a fan, like a Reddit one that I found or something.
Oh,
there's a shit ton of it. There's more than 20 episodes on that.
Yeah, I hear you, but I don't know, man. They came out with an essential list on the Disney, and it's pretty good. It's 20 episodes, and for the most part, yes, if you had already seen the show, but. When I was showing Seth season 4, the one episode in season 4, they were talking about Savage Opress or whatever, Savage Opress, who's Darth Maul's brother, and that's actually pretty good. That's pretty fucking good. You actually should watch season 4 from beginning to end to get the full power of that episode. Because when Savage Opress gets together with Darth Maul and those two take over all of Mandalore, oh my god, that's so
much.
Why are you
telling me this? Why are you telling me this?
You need to fucking watch season 4 to all of it. Season 4 is so good.
So I'll watch the essentials, and then when I get to season 4, I'll watch all of it.
That's what you should do. Yes. And then I can guarantee this. If you watch season 4 from beginning to end, you will not skip around. You'll just keep watching. It's really fucking good. It's like from season 4 and on, it doesn't stop being good.
I remember, I don't know why I was jumping around in Rebels, and every time I was watching something, I was like, damn, this would have been a great movie.
Yeah.
The writing is good. The way that they talk about the ships and the tactics, everything just made sense within the universe of Star Wars.
And they really give in-depth knowledge, of Star Wars. They really dive deep in the
While adding to the canon.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah.
The canon, yeah.
Yeah, and then
and Warren's doing that too. And I feel like they're doing that pretty good.
It's cool because in Clone Wars, they did whatever they wanted to, and they just explored the world, and it's really good. But then when you go to Rebels, really that was more of exploring the characters and demonstrating how awesome Dave Filoni is, man. That shit, it stays on course. There's no bouncing around to some other story. They just stay with the characters. And they build this fucking relationship with these characters, which makes it that much more painful when shit happens. You're just like, fuck. But they build it up. In Clone Wars, they build up other characters and they murder them. And then you're just like, fuck. So that when you're watching it, there's a gravity there. Like you're like, oh shit, this guy might die because he's obviously not in the show, but he can live. You don't know. And some characters do carry on to Rebels, which is fucking great, you know. And that, but it's still Rebel. It's still Clone Wars. So people do die, and so you're just like, fuck. So like each episode is like there's a weight to it. Of course, like in Rebels, like all of them could die. You don't know because you don't see them in the future. So like it gets pretty fucking scary. But in Clone Wars, you always know that these three characters are gonna live. But up to that point, though, they introduce all these other characters that stay forever for fucking seasons. And when they die, you're just like, what? When you're like, oh, I thought those two were gonna get together. What? You know, like you couldn't predict it. You cannot predict it. It's that good. So when you're watching it, there is a gravity to it where you're like you don't know who's gonna die.
You know, you spend time with them.
Yeah,
you get to know them. You know, you get to learn about them, what they want, what they've been through, what their hopes are, and all that shit.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, that's good too. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, you're right. You get to know their hopes. So when they're dashed out, you're like, oh. And then you know what's cool too is like when there's villains and they do good things, and you're just like, oh, what? But there's a motivation to it. It's not like just, hey, yeah, totally, I'm all of a sudden good now. You know, it's just like there's a set of events where every once in a while a bad guy blinks, and vice versa sometimes. And it works so much better if you watch this and then Revenge of the Sith or whatever, because there's a lot of episodes that build up why he turns bad. And I wish he wrote the third movie, because the third movie makes much more sense.
I was reading that too, that the show contextualizes the third movie pretty good.
Oh yeah, it does. Yeah. Like, why? How could you trust a Jedi? And like, I don't know what happened, but it felt like in Clone Wars, he was painting the Jedi in a way where it explains why they're not all good, or why the Sith aren't all bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's a duality there, but in reality, it's just the person and their choices that they make. And I really just wish someone would have said something, because like a lot of the thing the Jedi do are fucking nefarious without even knowing it. Yeah, you sided with this group, but this other group dies because of it. Like they go and they exterminate a whole race of fucking beings because they're insects, but they had thoughts and feelings and things that they wanted to do. It just so happens you were the enemy and they killed some of your guys. So the Jedi, being who they are like, you know what? Fuck you. Let's die. It's justice though, because we're Jedi. We're good. And I thought, man, there's something. I mean, maybe if you just untether Dave Filoni away from all of this, he could make something really good. Like, I mean, this is the whole idea of being good guys who are just doing bad shit. They're good guys, but obviously what they're doing is wrong.
Well, I think him and Jon Favreau found a way to give us what we wanted in a new way.
Yeah, Mandalorian.
I feel like that's so hard to do, because usually, like when you're in a sequel or something, it's like, okay, how do we give people what they wanted without being repetitive?
Yeah.
And do something new. It's by working within the rules of the universe that you set, so that you can continue that story. And you can do new things by presenting new challenges, but staying true to how the character would react in those situations.
I agree.
They introduced a new character, Mandalorian, but he's still existing within the universe that really kept us coming back.
Yes.
And so he's operating within it, and there's rules and things that we recognize. And so we're like, this is plausible within the universe that has been presented to us since 1977. Yeah. And so they figured out how, without having to do, okay, let's go full nostalgia, in episode 7. Let's try, okay, that didn't work 100% with everybody. Okay, let's go back the other way and try to be subversive. Yeah. Okay, that definitely fucking didn't work. Okay, let's go back to full nostalgia and more, like a shit ton of Death Star. Oh, fuck, that didn't really work either.
Yeah.
And it's because they got away from the fact that, for a lot of people and the hardcore fans, these are characters that exist within a world that's established, And so really just give us that. Just obey your own rules for the world that you set up. Don't give us this new fucking area Exegol that we've never fucking heard of. Don't give us okay, Emperor Palpatine waited until right now to attack. I guess 100 Death Stars wasn't enough, so
Yeah.
Death Star Destroyers wasn't enough, so you had to build 3,000 of the motherfucker. I don't know.
They moved away. They moved away from a smaller story. And like with the Mandalorian, you get these smaller set pieces and you're doing so much more with so much little. And like it just grows. Like for instance, you got a town and you got a magistrate and you got Michael Bean, and then you just introduce like one other Jedi and you have every fucking thing. You had the episode before that where they're like attacking a base, the siege. They're just attacking a base. That's all they're doing. But you built up these characters. I mean, they do a lot with a little, and like I think that's what the movies, and I think that in general, bringing it all back to Tenet and everything else. I mean, like smaller stories are good. Like these grandiose stories, it's too much.
Well, I feel like they went back to the influences that kind of spawned original Star Wars, which was Kurosawa, and westerns.
Yeah.
And because you have even the duel between Mandalorian and Michael Bean.
Yeah.
It's like straight all the way back to like Tombstone. He was even trying to be sneaky, kind of like Ringo, trying to be cool and that shit.
Yeah.
And then
I thought it was fucking so good. You're right. It is more like a Western too, but in a good way,
Yeah.
They're not drawing things out. And then I do like the Baby Yoda thing. I mean, that's really cool. You know what my wife does though? Every time she sees something new, like an animal, she looks at me, merchandise. Yeah. Like that's what they're doing.
Well,
that's
in what was it? The Last Jedi. That was all merchandise. Those little court things.
Exactly, dude. That's what she said. That's what she said. She pointed out. She goes,
cold-blooded, super transparent cash grab.
She looked at the Yoda. Yeah.
Also, but man, they start talking about his story in this last episode, and Ahsoka's talking about what she was able to feel through him.
Yeah.
That
he was being raised.
He was being trained. He had the greatest masters, in the Jedi Council in Coruscant. And then, during the fall, somebody took him out, and then his memory becomes really dark. And it's like, it's also an excuse to kind of not write things in stone right away, because she just said, this is the person that took him out of the Jedi Temple. This is where he's been. They could change it later if they want to.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you keep it vague, which is good. Don't give us all the sausage, right?
Of course. No, it's perfect. They said it.
I think they said exactly enough for us to be like, oh wow, okay, shit. So these other things that we thought, that's probably not those. I actually like the idea that he was a child in the Jedi Temple when all that shit went down.
That works.
Engineered or whatever, or maybe he's a clone of Yoda still.
There's always that.
He could still be a clone of Yoda. I don't know.
Well, my thoughts is as soon as they could get Samuel L. Jackson to sign on as Mace Windu, they'll say that it was him that taught this fucking guy.
Oh, maybe he like showed up and he was like, "All right, baby," because he come back with one last hand. Goes, all right, baby.
He'd be all fucked up looking because he got electrocuted and then thrown out of the. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that Mace Windu fucking grabs. Yeah, dude, Force. He uses the Force. They could never die. They have the Force. He's Force pushed the floor.
We don't know what happened to him after he went out the window.
We don't. And how many times did Jedi jump out of a fucking window and survive?
Yeah, fucking Obi-Wan, he just like darts straight out the window and grabs onto that droid that flies away.
Well, they fucking do. They always just dart out there. They use the Force. You know what though? When you're using the Force, I mean, shit, things are gonna happen your way. I mean, the Force is it gets lost on everybody when they start talking midichlorians. But in reality, it's just the energy. So this shit was supposed to happen.
So the show is playing both sides of that coin.
What do you mean?
So they acknowledged in the siege, the research guy says that there's no other host that has the same end count
Oh, nice. I like the M count more than metachlorine.
Yeah. So he's all, we don't have another donor with the same M count. We would need to go back to the original donor, Baby Yoda. And I'm like, M count, fuck, they're going back to midi-chlorians. But in this one, Ahsoka does an Obi-Wan thing from like episode 4. She starts explaining that the Force is energy that is in all living things. So she starts describing it that way.
Yeah.
So I think there's a duality that can exist.
For sure, man. I mean, like from the beginning, when he introduced metachlorines in the beginning, everyone took that and were like, "Why did you do this?" And I was like, I mean, you can explain away shit that's like both like real and like, for instance, okay, so you got the flow state, and you could say if you work really hard and you can get into a state of mind of just ultimate, kung fu mastery, and then you can explain it away too, that your endorphins go up to a certain level and then your brain is doing like rapid recognition. But in reality, you're both right. It's just one's taking the magic out of it.
I think this M count thing, I think what they're gonna end up saying is that midichlorians are like dormant, and for some people they're more awake than others, and that you can wake it up through training, and experience.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that would still, because the argument against the whole midichlorian thing was, well, you're saying that some people are just going to be naturally better at the Force than others. Well, yes and no, because if in your family you tend to have higher endorphin levels, let's go with that, you're gonna have better moods, right? But can you train yourself to enhance that mood? Yes, you can.
Yeah. I mean, like if like we all have arms, but we can't punch like Mike Tyson.
But you can train yourself.
Yeah, but you'll also, if you're Mike Tyson's kid, he's gonna punch better than say my kid. You know what I mean? Because it's just genetics. You can just say that, and you can explain it away and say, "Oh yeah, well, it's because his genes, and he has this high moniker, so he has a proactivity to punching like this, and he has a fast twitch muscle and things like that." You could say that, but also you could say better genetics. Some bro science. You could do, and that's what Jedi are, just bro sciencing it up.
Yeah, well, I hope it's not genetics that the midichlorians are attached to. I'm just hoping that it's thing that it's in your body and you could pass it on if you're trained in it. So like a badass Jedi could have a badass Jedi child. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but then you have the chosen one.
Or if you're not a badass Jedi, well, see, that's the will of the Force wanting to balance something out.
Right? Yeah, but like also Yoda has a high count.
He might come from a race that just tends to have a higher count. So
I hear you. I'm just saying, like,
is less dormant than in others.
You could say anything, really. I mean, it's not a hard thing. Like,
I'm hoping that that's the direction that they go in.
I don't see
the midichlorians are genetic and passed on in your DNA, but that everybody has it. Just some people have it more awake than others.
Yeah, that makes sense, and I could see them going that direction. Or why would you want to? Because we're talking about the Mandalorian.
Well, they just went back-to-back episodes. In one, they referred to M count, and in the very next one, they went back to the original explanation of the Force.
That's so good.
Back-to-back, they presented the original trilogy presentation and the new trilogy presentation of the Force, and those are kind of juxtaposed, but if they can merge them, goddamn, that just weaves together episodes 1, 2, and 3 with 4, 5, and 6.
It's cool if they could go either way. You really could go either way, science, and you can go either way, frou-frou science. Like, oh yeah, training and that. I mean, it works. I mean, both can exist. The fact that we have to like stick in the mud and say, nah, it's got to be this way or that way. You know what I mean? Like,
I like kind of like the Buddhist angle on this. The idea that it's all within us. We just have to be able to tune ourselves to recognize it.
Yeah.
The nirvana, being at peace with everybody can do it. It's just you just need to train yourself to be able to get there.
It reminds me of an episode of Voyager in which Janeway of science, right? She has to go and save her fucking person, you know, and she has to go through this ritual, right? And science, but she's science. So she studies like thousands of rituals and shit like that as she goes into this thing. And there's these people talking to her and telling her to do things, and she's fucking having to lift a rock and do all this heavy shit and just fucking go through this whole thing. And it's like, this shit's so hard for her, you know, and she studied all this shit. She tortures herself, right? And to save her crewmate, right? And it turns out like once she gave up and like believed in the shit that she was doing, then she was able to save her crewmate, right? And because she believed, right? And then the doctor comes in and says, oh, look, it seems to be that you, when you were doing all this physical stuff, you were inciting your body like this and that, and you did this, and then you were able to give the hormone to save the thing. So if you hadn't done all that, you wouldn't have been able to save him. And as he's talking the science, she's kind of tuning him out. Like you just hear him as a murmur. And it's really the magic of the thing is gone because you just explained it away. It was so magical to come to that epiphany of everything you thought you knew, you did not know. And then you just like gave in to something bigger than yourself. And then when you start hearing the reason why it all works, then it's not as magical. And she even says that. She goes, it's not as magical. I like hearing all the pretty stories.
And that was the argument against midichlorians.
Exactly.
It loses the spirituality side of the Force. But here it's Dave Filoni and his writers kind of going, you know what? We're not just going to ignore it and pretend like it didn't happen. We're going to find a way to make it work.
You can too. And you could tell somebody if you work out, you'll be like this, but in reality, it's more of you have to believe, you know what I mean? Like you may know something, but to understand it, two different. You can tell a kid, hey, look, if you work hard, you'll get to where you want to go. But to hear it is not the same thing as living it.
You have to inspire them. And it's sometimes has to be like a spiritual, you know.
Yeah. But in reality, you go the path and you either learn it or you don't. And it's not a thing of you and me, and it doesn't matter who it is that inspires. It's really like, are they receptible in the Force in the time of their life to hear the words and then to do that? You know what I mean? Like, oh yeah, if I work hard, you know, I could do what I want to do, you know, but in reality, it doesn't work that way. It's you could be an inspirational person in the world, but it's up to the person receiving it to go the journey, to do the thing. And that's what makes things magical. So especially with metachlorians, you can tell them, yeah, if you train really hard, you can activate your metachlorians. But once again, you know, you're hearing it, but you gotta actually fucking Jedi that shit, you know? That's why you get your Jedi. And you like you can Ahsoka Tano and say, hey, look, you got to use the Force to do all this shit. And you'd be like, whatever. And then another guy go like, look, it's all about working out and getting your metachlorians to this level. And for some reason that fucking works. Reverse that. You tell a person, yeah, you just got to use your metachlorians, work out and do all this shit. And you're there. And the guy's like, huh? And then Ahsoka Tano comes in like, use the Force, do all this shit. And you're like, oh shit, this works. And then he can do it.
That's true. Like some people, they need religion to have that spiritual how to live your life, guidance.
Yeah.
For some other people, it just makes sense. It's just like, hey, I'm a sentient being, you're a sentient being, and I wouldn't want anybody taking my shit, so I'm not going to take yours.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to steal. Some people need to be told that, and they need to be inspired to make good decisions. Not because they're bad people, but they're just not built like that, or they weren't taught that way, or they just don't understand or perceive the world that way.
Yeah, and I think that you can exist in both worlds. You just have to just not shit on both. I mean, I think once you start on that path of this has to be it and that has to be it, then the message is lost. And I think Dave Filoni can pull this off.
I think so too.
Yeah, if he can do both things, I mean, and it was weird that people took so much umbrage with metachlorians. He's right. I mean, people were right, kind of, you know, like, oh yeah, he shouldn't have done that. But like, he went 3 fucking movies already going this direction. Now he's, you know, Old Republic. They know shit more. They know more about Jedi. So why not have them have a sciencey kind of way of going about it? It's just the way they executed it was a little bit clunky. I mean, there could have been a way where you use science to make it sound more mystical, you know? I mean, like we do that with monks now. Like they can gauge, you know, how much endorphins they are when they're meditating. But like they go, oh, because we know this doesn't mean we can replicate it. You know, like that's
they also weren't born that way either. They had to train themselves
exactly
to do that.
You can do all the science you want, but you're not going to be able to do the thing that you know what I mean? Time has to do its thing. Certain, like, unless you are a god with your own sandbox, there's nothing you can do to create the same thing. You can inject all the fucking things you want, but there's a whole hardware system with your body. You know, if your body can't fucking, you know, you can put all the fucking chemicals in the guy's brain, but if his body's not receptive to fucking handle that shit, and the brain knowing how to fucking, you know, do that trip, like weed for you is different for weed for me. You know what I mean? Like people who have been on the journey, they kind of know what they're going and what they're getting at, you know. But if you give it to somebody who's not really into that, and they're just like, what the fuck is this? Well, you got the same thing that another person got, but you don't know how to fucking process that kind of information. You know what I mean? And you could use all the science you want. It's hallucinogenic. You're the 5-HTP in your fucking gut, metabolize it, and you can do all this shit, but it doesn't fucking matter. It just matters on how you know,
how you're interpreting it.
Yeah, and how you come out to be. Yeah, I mean that's just the way it is. So I think this is good. I think this is a good stopping point. Went way longer than I wanted to, but we had some technical difficulty. So as always, please like and subscribe. If you like this podcast, you can find us on Podcastforwe. We're on Spotify, iTunes, all this shit, SoundCloud, wherever you love podcasts, that's where we're at. And as always, be the better person than you were yesterday. Be that person you wanted to be tomorrow, today. Why put it off? Be your future self now. And as always, you know, head on a swivel. Stay frosty. I don't even know how to fucking stop this fucking thing. I'm just fucking laters. Hit the stop button here. Huh?